Bright Rob, King and Jam Packard present Steel Bottle, Steel Bottle, Boston Celtics, Steel Bottle, Steel Bottle. Oh yeah! Steel Bottle, Steel Bottle, Boston Celtics, Steel Bottle, Steel Bottle. Banner 19. Jaylen Brown, D. White, Crazy Joe. Steel Bottle, Steel Bottle. When Tatum coming back? Steel Bottle. Oh yeah!
Come on, Long Lotion. Don't I want some weed. Don't get the next generation.
Let's go, your family fan. Celtics. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Your family fan. Celtics, let's go.
Let's go, baby! Welcome back to Still Potable, the best Celtics podcast here on Al Gore's interweb. I am Sam Jam Packard, joined by the great, the kid, the god, the legend himself from the Athletic Celtics beat reporter Jay King. Together with Brian B. Rob, we are Still Potable, a daily Boston Celtics podcast for you. If you want to hear from us every day, join our Patreon. Subscribe today. Patreon.com/stillpotable. We got podcasts for you every single day of the week. And we got game recaps. We got tales from the beat. Sometimes we got videos from Jay King just driving in the car with his son. Fantastic content. We also have some free episodes. This is a free episode. That means we're brought to you on the CLNS network. Also means today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Use code CLNS to get $50 after you play your first $5 lineup. Now, Jay, we're coming to you after the Celtics had a relatively easy win against the Indiana Pacers. They have an opportunity to stack up some wins in the Eastern Conference with an easy schedule. But for some reason, when I logged on to twitter.com today, the discourse, I think it's mostly John Corrales' fault. And if I had to put the blame on anyone, it was John Corrales. Some concerns.
I sat next to him at the game last night, and I was trying to egg him on a little bit. I was trying to get him in the mix. I was showing him tweets about him that were mentioning him by name but not tagging him. I was doing whatever I could to fan the flames of that fire.
And I think it worked because it seemed to be the topic last night. It seemed to be the topic today on Celtics Twitter. And the issue was, I think he raised the possibility that Jayson Tatum's return may not be seamless to this Celtics team that is wildly outperforming expectations. But with that, Jaylen Brown has a usage rate over 30%. And so somehow that devolved into him saying that there's it's going to be these two guys can't play together, which I think is ultimately poppycock. And I think people are just taking his argument or his statement wildly out of context. But I mean, I don't think you've talked. Were you at the high school gym where Tatum worked out in front of the media?
I was there, and Jayson Tatum did work out. I didn't come away from it thinking he could play next week or he could play super soon, but he was moving pretty well. I mean, he was playing through contact. He dunked. He was coming off screens. He was simulating kind of stuff that he would do within the Celtics offense. But at the same time, there are a lot of steps between what he was doing and what he will need to do to play in an NBA game again. So that said, I think the reality is we had been basically ushered out of the gym a lot of times when Tatum started working out, and it was kind of made known to us all right, you got to go. You're not staying here and watching Jayson Tatum. And this time he was willing to work out in front of all of us. And so I think that was a sign that, he's cool with people seeing his workouts now, kind of comfortable with where he is. And yeah, it was, I mean, Joe Mazzulla called it interesting, which
there you go.
So it was interesting.
It was definitely interesting, and it feels like it's pointing to him he's been kind of signaling this for a while. He wants to return this season. He wants to come back pretty much as soon as he can. Obviously, with all the caveats, he has to pass all the medical things. No doctor's going to force him out there. He has all his checkpoints he has to do, 1-on-1, 2-on-2, etc. It does feel like he's going to come back this season. And I think the question is, does that make things awkward in terms of that adjustment to Jayson Tatum coming back, especially a Jayson Tatum who's presumably not going to be at the same level he was before the injury? And so how is working a less than Jayson Tatum back into this roster going to change things? I think like you last year talked a lot about how like working Kristaps Porzingis back into the lineup changed the flow of the team, and they had to make an adjustment to it. I think there's obviously going to adjustment. I don't think the question is, can these guys coexist? Obviously they can. They won a championship. They've been wildly successful together. But I think it's a fair question to ask is like, how is that kind of adjust what the team is doing right now? And how do what are the growing pains of working in, a 60% Jayson Tatum or an 80% or whatever that number is back into this rotation?
And the reason why it's become a Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown conversation is not because people are wondering, can they coexist? They won a title together. Like they've reached however many Eastern Conference finals together. They've won more playoff games as a duo, I think, than any other active duo. Like, yeah, of course they can win together and figure things out. Of course, Joe Mazzulla has proven very capable of figuring out problems as a coach. What's going to set up an adjustment and why this is a discussion is because, like, realistically, Jaylen is playing a totally different role than he's ever played. His usage rate is like 37%, which is astronomical. I believe the highest in his career before this was 31.4%. And they've kind of made everything about him and just giving him freedom. He's talked before about how in the past he was kind of shied away from taking mid-range jumpers. Now he has the ultimate green light there, and he's been great at it. And he has more space to operate inside the arc. He's shooting like 16 twos a game, plus all the free throws that he draws, which are mostly from inside the arc. And so he's using just a ton of possessions as a scorer. And so, yeah, like there is going to be an adjustment. Now, have those guys always been winners? Yes. Have they always sacrificed? Yes. Like sometimes to the detriment of their individual success. We've seen, like their numbers dip when Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday showed up because they're all about winning. And I think they'll remain all about winning. I don't think that's in question. The other piece of this is that Jaylen Brown has been very open that this has been like, I think he called it the most fun season he's ever had. And I think part of that is the challenge of winning after losing everybody and rising to that challenge and kind of proving everybody that doubted him wrong and proving everybody that talked about the gap season or whatever else wrong. But I think part of that is also the freedom and the fact that this system has been built around him for the first time ever. And I would imagine that's really fun. You know what else is fun? Winning. And Jaylen Brown's always been about winning. Like, I don't think him saying this is fun means the other way wasn't fun. He was a finals MVP. He won a championship. Like, of course he had fun. But there is, because of everything that's happened, and like it is going to be a bit of a shock to the system, I think, when Tatum comes back and takes some of those possessions, and it's just going to be different. Like, that's all.
And I don't think it's
and that's not a bad thing, and people shouldn't be mad at people about it. It's just that's how it's going to be.
I don't think anyone is questioning. Well, maybe Corrales is because he hates the Celtics and is basically a sports talk radio pundit. But
yeah, just a 98.5 guy.
Just basically him, Felger, and Maz basically hanging out thick as thieves.
That's like the one thing you can say that hurts him the most too. Like, I know he just that hurt him to the core. I was so happy to see that online.
98.5 Corrales. Oh, we got to get him in there.
That's the one I showed him on Twitter, actually.
I can imagine that really pissed him off. I think the thing he's pointing out, which is fair, is like there's going to be an adjustment, and it's like because this Jayson and Jaylen and just like the Celtics organization is been so good at winning and so committed to winning, I don't think there's anyone questioning their ability to kind of overcome whatever initial awkwardness it is. Like I think people are, you're going to adjust to it. It's just like, one, how much time are they going to have to kind of make that adjustment? And there's the big unknown is just like, we have no idea what Jayson Tatum is going to be capable of and what he thinks he's capable of versus what he actually is. Is he going to try and take on a role where he's like, I need to like score 20 like points a game? Or is he realizing like, hey, I don't have that necessarily in me, but I'm going to be the best defensive rebounder there is. And like, I'm going to be so happy being a screener and setting up other guys. I think that's the hardest thing to figure out is like, what level is Jayson Tatum? Is he going to be the guy you're going to be comfortable doing a bunch of ISO possessions with? Is he going to want to do that to kind of establish himself and be like, I'm back? I would tend to guess because like, one, just like how Joe Mazzulla and I feel like the organizations operates, like they're going to try and put him in the best position to help win games. They're not just going to like trot Jayson Tatum out there for basically like rehab assignments and being like, you know, Jayson, go take 25 shots today because we want you to get back. Like they're going to try and make it so whatever he's doing is conducive towards winning. It's just Tatum, because he is a superstar, does get a little bit more leeway than pretty much everyone else on the team. He's a guy who's just like can refuse to be sad a game because he's Jayson Tatum. Like he is, superstars do get a little bit more leeway. And so it's like, if he's playing in a way that is hurting the team, how does the coaching staff kind of react to that? I don't think it's going to be like a sustained thing, but there's definitely going to be some awkwardness there as he tries to figure out like, who am I right now as Jayson Tatum with like in this rehab stint? Because like, no, I don't think anyone thinks he's going to come back and be like immediately the same guy who he was last season.
Yeah. And the other piece of this is that there is just going to be more room for Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum to be themselves because they don't have Kristaps Porzingis. They don't have Al Horford. They don't have those guys. Like right now, this team plays 3 guys regularly in Baylor Shireman, Jordan Walsh, and Ugo Gonzalez who have sub 12 usage rates. Like that's Semi Ojeleye territory. Like you're very rarely looking to score or do anything if your usage rate is sub 12. They have Sam Hauser, who's about 15 usage rate. Like Nimi and Luka Garza, who get theirs down low, but are very much like not feed him down low and go get a bucket. It's like a lot of this has come down to the guards. And, you know, I think Derek White will lose some touches. I think Peyton Pritchard will lose some touches. I think Anthony Simons, if he's still around, will lose some touches. But like there's still going to be tons of room for Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum. Like they just have a lot of non-scorers on the team this year. And it's worked out totally fine. Their offense has been incredible. But like it's not like Jaylen's going to have to take this huge step back and be what did he average last year? 23, 24 points a game, whatever it was. Like he doesn't have to go back to that. He doesn't have to go back to 28% usage, but it will be an adjustment. The other piece is like, and their pace, I know their pace as a team, like just isn't that high, but they've tried to play faster. And Jayson Tatum very much likes to be methodical and like precise and slow it down. And so that's going to be a little different. Like there are a lot of things that will just be adjustments, and like that doesn't mean it has to be bad thing. Like you're bringing back Jayson Tatum, who's been first team All-NBA 4 straight times. Of course you deal with whatever comes with that, and everybody will have to fit in and everybody will have to get in the hierarchy. But like, I am interested to see how it goes. Not because I think it's going to be like a disaster or piss people off or anything like that. It's just like you're bringing back the great unknown of Jayson Tatum. We don't know what he's going to look like. And they're going to have to just figure out everything sort of all over again after they've sort of been humming for a while, especially offensively. Like they just buckets have been very easy for them. They know what they're doing as a group. They know where they're getting to, and it's going to be major change whenever he gets back. Now, it's a good thing. Like I said, like it's a great thing, the best of things to bring back Jayson Tatum, but it will be a change, and it will be something they'll all have to adapt to from top to bottom.
One thing I'm curious about is like how deferential will, and I'm less concerned about this with Jaylen Brown because I feel like he's been such in a zone of like going to get buckets. But like we've seen Peyton Pritchard's aggressiveness kind of wane at some moments. We've seen like Derek White actually hasn't suffered from that at all. Derek White's been launching all year, just like a high volume. But like with Jayson Tatum on the court, bona fide superstar, are they deferential for him, waiting for him to make a play? And how do they adjust? Because I think that like would really do a disservice to the team if Peyton Pritchard is like less aggressive in trying to get into the paint just because Tatum's on the court. I don't think it's like they're all very good basketball players committed towards winning. And I feel like I'm less concerned about Jaylen Brown kind of like having to adjust his game. And it's more of like the other guys or even Anthony Simons. Like how do they stay aggressive when, and maybe make sure they don't over defer to a guy who's not at the peak of his powers.
And there are going to be some obvious pluses to this too, right? Like a million obvious pluses. It's Jayson fucking Tatum. But among those pluses is like Derek White shooting 39% from the field. Do you know who's amazing in actions with him? Jayson Tatum.
That was their go-to action for everything for the last 3 years.
Tatum does. And like Derek White, I think he's had an unbelievable season. I went on Fred Katz's podcast today, and we were picking the All-Star reserves. Derek White was among my choices for Eastern Conference All-Star reserves. I didn't think I was going to get there. And then I looked at the options, and I was like, any of these teams should want to have Derek White over whoever else were the option. I think Pascal Siakam was one of the guys I left off.
Norm Powell? Were you a big Norm Powell guy?
Norman Powell. I had Norman Powell on, but I also would pick Derek White over Norman Powell. Like, he's been a worthy all-star or very close to it. And his efficiency should only take a big bump when Jayson Tatum comes back. Like, it cannot be understated. Should not be understated. Like, Jayson Tatum freed him up for a lot easier stuff than he's gotten so far this year.
Yeah, the spacing lineup that like the Celtics have to play if they want like maximum spacing is like one big Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Sam Hauser, and then like give or take Simons or Pritchard. What if you just didn't have to give up size and have like a less than defender in Simons on the court? And Hauser's not bad, but like, what if you had just a two-way, you had shooting all around? Like one thing I think Jayson Tatum will be able to do is spot up shoot, because that doesn't involve as much athleticism. But like, what if you had a guy who could provide spacing, but was also 6'10"? Like, I feel like they've had some lineups where it's like, we need Anthony Simons out there to create offense. But then you're just like, you're giving up on the defensive there. It's like, I think it's the rising tide is good for all the boats, Jay. Like, I just don't see any way in having Jayson Tatum, even limited Jayson Tatum, is not going to help every single other person on the court, especially in terms of, like you said, offensive chances created for guys like Derek White, for Hauser, for anyone else who's on the court with him.
And like, going back in history, there is nothing but evidence to support the idea that Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown have worked their hardest to be harmonious together. Like, back in the day, there were a lot of questions. Can they play together? I think some of those were fair. Like, there were times when that was fair. Like, and they worked on it, and they got better and better, and they didn't care about what people said when they were talking, like, is Jaylen better? Is Jayson better? And pitting them sort of against each other while talking about them. They've never cared about any of it. They've always gotten beyond it, and they've always gotten better, and they've always been willing to be coachable and to sacrifice parts of their game. And I don't expect that to change just because Jaylen has scored a lot of points and said he's having fun this season. I think that's a real overreaction from him saying, like, this has been a rewarding year, like that's a leap to then wonder, like, does that mean he's not going to give up touches to Jayson Tatum? Like, no, it doesn't mean that. Like, we've seen nothing to ever suggest that. Jaylen's been totally coachable. He's worked on all his weaknesses. He's been willing to fit in whatever role they've brought him off the bench. They've done a lot of things throughout his career, and he's just dealt with it and been great about it. And I mean, obviously he's reached a point where this team is built around him, where he's having great success. They're having great success too. And he seems to be, having sort of a victory lap, and he should. Like, there's been a lot of crap talked about him over the years, and I don't think the victory lap during that is suggesting like anything ominous is going to happen when Jayson Tatum returns. Like, no. Like, these guys have always worked to figure it out. Even when they couldn't figure it out, they were working to do it. And I don't see any reason to believe that won't happen again.
Yeah, and I completely agree, and I just don't understand why media hack John Corrales would do so much to try and tear them down. It feels like he's just doing it for clicks, and it's irresponsible journalism, I would have to say. It's just ugly behavior from a sad little man.
I know nothing little about those years.
You said something about
sorry, Krause, that was messed up, man.
Yeah, I mean, I was all in jest, then you had to do a personal attack. You said something about Anthony Simons I want to get to, but first I want to tell you guys about Prize Picks. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. It's the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long with Prize Picks. Basketball season is heating up, and so Prize Picks is the best place to get real money action while wearing your favorite sport. Prize Picks is fun. They have a bunch of different statistical categories you can pick from. You can also go across sports. So if you wanted to do a little Jaylen Brown more free throws with Drake May, more passing yards, you can do that with Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download that app today. Use promo code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Now, you mentioned something about Anthony Simons, whether or not he's still on this team this year. We're about a week removed from his absolute scorcher down in Miami to lead them on a comeback. He's not done much since then, which I think is the quintessential, Anthony Simons performance this year. Where do you think he is? Or is there any updates on possibly him being traded? Do you think they're still trying to preference to get a big? How do you feel? I can never pronounce this guy's last name. Goga Biaditste?
Batazda.
I don't think either of us got it right.
Goga.
What are your feelings at this point? We were on the large part of the road trip with the Celtics. What do you think the Celtics' approach is heading into the trade deadline, which I think is 2 weeks away at this point?
Yeah, I think my feelings have long been that their ideal trade deadline would involve being buyers while shedding money. And the perfect bullseye for them would be getting under the cap. Just they're $12.1 million over getting under the cap or the tax while adding a big man. And Luka Garza has been really good for them. The last 15 games, 20 games of Luka Garza have been really good. But I think as you project forward to the playoffs and everything else, that's the one area that you could really look to upgrade. And as well as Simons has played, the reality is you're not going to be able to probably afford another big contract moving forward. And I don't know that he'll make as much as he's making this year moving forward, but he'll still make a substantial amount. And then also Jayson Tatum is coming back. And that is going to throw the current hierarchy into disarray. And so the sixth man now, who has a 23% usage rate, that role will not be the same when Tatum gets back. So I think there are a lot of factors for the Celtics to consider. Obviously, I don't know exactly what they expected internally this year, but they're really good. And this team is worth adding to. And I think they understand that. But I think it's also very self-evident that the luxury tax situation is what it is. And if you could get under that while adding a piece, like that's the perfect scenario. And this team is worth, like, if you have to give up, picks or whatever to make that happen, then this group is worth doing that for. And you have enough depth already that it's probably okay to trade some of those draft picks, because you already have a group of young guys that should be helpful for a while.
Yeah, and it feels like they have the number 2 offense in the league right now and the 18th ranked defense. Anthony Simons, as much as he is, Joe Mazzulla wants to celebrate him as like a much improved defensive player, and he's like kind of like changing everything. I feel like if you want to compete this year, you want to improve your defense. I think the best way to do that is have a big man who, and as good as Luka Garza has been, he's not like a stellar defensive big man. He's been solid and he plays really hard, and he's been good on the boards. But
and he stopped fouling every other possession, which
yes, that has made him playable. But I think you can take a little bit of a hit on not having Anthony Simons' offense out there if you can do something to bolster your defense. And I think the easiest way to do that, obviously Jayson Tatum's going to help, but I don't think there's a role for Simons on this team necessarily next year. So I don't think you're necessarily going to re-sign him, even if he gives you like a very team-friendly deal. And so why not try to go for the big man? I think the latest report was that Zubac, the Clippers want 2 first-round picks for Zubac. You can't do a Simons for Zubac straight up. You'd have to still take back someone like Derrick Jones Jr. So I don't know if you'd accomplish your goal of getting under the tax. That is if you go for Zubac and he makes $20 million a year. You could go for like the lesser players who make less money, like Day'Ron Sharp, or I have no idea what Goga's contract is, but I would imagine it's not more than $6 million a year. But you probably wouldn't have to attach picks there. So like, what would you said earlier that you'd be fine giving up some draft picks, but is 2 first-round draft picks worth it for Zubac? Or is it better to like part with 1 or maybe a younger player for a guy who you don't have to worry about their contract for much moving forward?
Yeah, I think there are other guys out there too. Like, would Daniel Gafford be available?
Oh, I have no interest in Daniel Gafford.
You're not a Daniel Gafford guy.
Never have been. I was a Daniel Gafford guy before he signed his contract extension. Now I think he makes too much money.
What is he making? Like 15 a year?
Yeah, it's like $5 million too much.
You're not a $15 million a year Gafford guy?
Never have been.
Let me see exactly what his.
And actually,
so
15
he'll make
is
17.2, 17.3 next year, 18.1, 19.
It's actually not bad, but I'd rather have Zubac, who makes kind of like better money, who I think is a much better player.
Yeah, Zubac is a real deal. And I think, like, if you can add someone that's a real difference maker in that spot, such as Zubac, that would be really helpful. Because, like I said, Garza's been good. Garza's been very serviceable. Garza, offensive rebounds like a maniac.
He's a great third center. He'd be the perfect third
he's
center.
He's knocking down threes. He's been like pretty dependable for what they ask him to do. And that decel move,
the Panoy step.
it was so slow and just like, oh man, it was epic. And he does that like pretty frequently. He has one of the best decels, just staying on balance and waiting for the guy to float by while he's just ground bound. It's fantastic move. But I do think like there would be opportunities out there to bolster the front court and get another starting caliber center that the Celtics would have to look at. Now, like there's not a lot on the market that will presumably be available, and that could be an issue. And if I don't think they should move Simons for like nothing but cap relief. Like no, I'm a no on that. But if you can turn him into an upgrade somewhere else, knowing that Jayson Tatum is going to come back and knowing that he's, because of contract situation, probably not part of your long-term future, then that's something you have to at least consider doing. And then like I'm a strong believer that Hauser is just a really, number one, a really good player. Number two, like tough player to find because there are so few guys who can shoot off movement the way he does while also being able to hold up defensively. And then on top of it, like
he makes $10 million a year. He has so much
just,
trade value right now.
He just fits next to anyone. Like it's so easy to fit him into a lineup. Like and they also, I think, like you've seen in some matchups, like Jordan Walsh can be a problem offensively sometimes. Hugo Gonzalez can be a problem offensively sometimes. Like sometimes if Hauser's not in there, they'll go to like Baylor Shireman because they need that last player to be like at least a little bit of a shooting threat. And so the shooting matters, and shooting matters a lot. And I just think Hauser's really important. So like I know that his contract would be desirable by some other teams. I know he would probably have suitors, but I'm not sure that they should be thinking about that. I've kind of gone back and forth on that.
Well, I think
because their young guys are good. And again, like Jayson Tatum's coming back, but
I think Hauser is like probably the person people want the most because of everything you described and because he's only making $10 million a season. Like you can get presumably so much more because teams will want Sam Hauser because he is that much more valuable. But
he also, his contract isn't nearly as big. So from salary matching standpoint, like Simons opens up a lot more possibilities than Hauser does. So
Simons and Hauser opens up a lot more possibilities. It still doesn't get you in the tax if you're like looking for under the tax, if you're looking for Zubac. Someone in the comments said Zubac is a role player, which I think is poppycock. The man made all defensive second team last year and sixth in defensive player of the year voting. I don't think he's having as good a year this year as he did last year, but he's like a bona fide starting center. Obviously, I think someone else said like Nimi is better defensively, which I don't think is true, but it's cheaper. You would have both Nimi and Zubac, so you would have 48.
Pretty cool, wouldn't it?
You'd have 48 minutes of solid center play instead of being like some moments where it's like, oh my God, we're gonna play Baylor Shireman at center against the Pistons. Like, I thought like right now, I think Jayson Tatum coming back, they're a pretty solid matchup against the Pistons, but the Celtics team, they're so small. They need to and if they play a team who can go double bigs, having multiple big men out there where you don't, if someone gets in foul trouble, you don't have to play Baylor Shireman at the 5. And maybe this is
Xavier Tillman got that 1 minute though.
Yeah, and it wasn't an amazing 1 minute. I think they are missing Josh Minot right now. It's just like he is a better option at small ball 5. And what's going on with his ankle? This man's been out for 3 weeks with a sprained ankle. But I think if you can add some size, and I thought that Pistons game was good evidence of it, and actually did a better job on the defensive glass than they had in earlier Pistons matchups. But like that is the team you're competing with in the Eastern Conference. The Knicks also can go double big if Cat ever figures out how to stop being a flailing baby, but they can go Cat and Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson killed this team on the glass last year in the playoffs. Like I feel like they're going to need some sort of size. So adding a center where you can at least have 48 minutes of solid center play where they're both like solid defensively and you don't have to rely on Luka Garza as good as improved as he's been is a definite way to upgrade this team who has how many teams contend for championships with the 18th best defense in the league? Like the formula generally is having a top 10 defense, a top 10 offense. I don't think they're anywhere close, even with Jayson Tatum returning, to being a top 10 defense right now. And so if you can add some size and you can shore up the defensive rebound and you can shore up the rim protection when Nimi's not on the court, it's definitely something you can have to consider. And I think Zubac would fit in there nicely. And what really is the value of a first round pick? I mean, sometimes you hit, sometimes you don't. You're going to be drafting in the 20s. I think people are a little too precious with how much they value first round picks, especially these Celtics picks over the next couple of years.
Celtics have the 5th ranked defense over the last 15 games.
Ooh, maybe I've been entirely wrong.
Pointing that out there.
Do you think they are
with the best defensive rebound rate in the league during that span, which is an insane turnaround. Insane turnaround.
Do you think that's sustainable?
I don't know, but it's God's work from Joe Mazzulla and the Celtics as a team. They were literally on pace to be like one of the worst defensive rebounding teams of all time. And for 15 games, they have led the league in defensive rebound.
That's wild. I would never.
It's stunning. Stunning. I never would have guessed they would have a stretch like this season. But a
lot of credit has to go to Joe Mazzulla. And I asked you this question I heard our friends Coley Mick and Trill Withers talking about. How much value does Joe Mazzulla have on the trade market? If you were Brad Stevens, would you trade Joe Mazzulla for
who was it? Bontemps that once said like,
who would you rather have, Giannis or Brad Stevens?
Yeah. And I think he went with Brad, didn't he?
I think he said like I'm going with Giannis, but it's a real debate you have to have.
I'm Googling that right now because that was an epic one from my guy Bontemps. Oh, here it is. Here it is on Twitter. I got asked on a radio show this week if I would take Giannis or Brad Stevens if I was starting a team. I said Giannis, but man, Stevens is just so good that I might have to change my mind. He's incredible.
All right, so who would you take, Giannis or Joe Mazzulla?
I'm taking the superstar player every time.
Okay, the first pick in this year's draft or Joe Mazzulla?
The first pick in this year's draft.
The 5th pick in this year's draft or Joe Mazzulla? You can't really measure the intangibles that come with Crazy Joe.
Tell you what, the guy's done an incredible job. Like, absolutely ridiculous job. He's gotten the young players up to speed. He's gotten the veteran players to buy in. He's allowed everybody to flourish individually. He's made it all work as a team. The defensive rebound thing we just talked about, that's been just an insane turnaround midseason. He's turned them loose as an offensive rebounding team, which was like a crucial component of scoring as an offense this year and maintaining an elite offense. Anthony Simons, that situation could have been delicate. Like, he came in a contract year. They asked him to come off the bench. That has been a real positive. And yeah, I mean, Joe has pressed every right button so far this year.
What he's also done is he's brought the team together by forcing them to learn about each other. He was on the Celtics team podcast, I think, this week, and he's describing that he has asked each of the players to make a short slideshow, like 5 slides, just teaching the team about their lives. And the only one I think we've heard about is Jordan Walsh apparently loves anime.
And I believe Josh Minot did one on tattoos.
Oh, on all his tattoos. And
that's
so,
what Corrales
Jay,
said in a story, at least.
No, and Missoula talked about that one on the pod too with
Gotcha.
D'Amico and Grandy. You and I, to finish out this podcast, we're going to do a classic potable six-pack, a snake draft of the 6 PowerPoint presentations from the Celtics players we most want to see. And you're a beat reporter, you're around these guys all the time, but this is a deep dive into their lives. They get to choose the topic. We don't know what the topic would be, but it's just something about their lives. Jay, I'll give you the first pick. Who do you want to know the most about? Whose PowerPoint presentation do you want to see the most?
I feel like Josh Minot is just an interesting dude. I would have liked to see his, although knowing what it's about, just his own tattoos, maybe not. I want to see Joe's. Does Joe get one, or is it just the players?
I'm
picking Joe. I'm picking Joe.
That's a great pick. He is the most fascinating personality on this team. Yeah, what a wild card. You have no idea what would be on those 5 slides. Probably something about his relationship to God, but probably something about murder. Probably something about violence. Probably something about perseverance. And so, yeah, I hope Joe made a slideshow. That's a great first pick. Picking outside the box. I wish I did it myself. For my first pick, I think I'm going to go with Nimi. I mean, the man he's an international superstar. He didn't learn English till he was 8 years old. Grew up playing the game in Portugal. Has to have an interesting path to the NBA. Kind of dominated in the Eurobasket this year. So I feel like he's probably got the most interesting live, most well-traveled guy on this team. So he's gonna be my first pick. I don't know, like, what does Nimi give a lot of interviews? I don't know. What's the last time Nimi had a podium game?
Last night.
Well,
not a podium game, but he did the press conference. Nimi does a lot of press conferences, I feel like. He's in the regular rotation.
Well, that's not a bad sign for my pick, though, because I don't think I remember a Nimi quote ever.
Yeah.
Well, you live and you learn. My next pick, I think it's going to be Peyton Pritchard. Just an absolute maniac.
Just be about basketball. There's no way he has anything else to give a presentation about.
I know, but it'd be about the craziest love of basketball. I want to slide on his hands bleeding because he got up at 4 a.m. As a 12-year-old to dribble until they bled. Like, I just think he's just got a kind of something's off center about him. He's just absolutely maniacal, and I would like to see that come out in the PowerPoint presentation.
It would absolutely be about basketball. I have no doubts. His would have been about basketball. I'm going Jaylen. Did you see when he was on Derek White's podcast and he said he bought a harp and has people come over and play it?
I did see that. I completely forgot about that.
There are just layers.
Wild move.
There are just layers to Jaylen Brown that the world doesn't know about. And there's a lot of layers to Jaylen. And I would love to see just what he presented on.
How pissed off would you be?
It could be literally anything from something scientific to like a language that he learned,
like a social justice issue. It could be any,
it could literally be anything.
All of those things. But I want to get back to the harp thing. If you go to a party at some guy's house and you come in and then he just forces you to watch him play the harp for 5 minutes, that's a psycho move.
No. He has someone else playing the harp.
Oh, that makes way more sense.
Yeah, so you're just sitting there listening to the harp.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of rocks.
Like you're, I don't know, in Greece or Rome in like ancient times.
Yeah, no. What about a harpsichord? That'd be fun. All right, your next pick.
Who else?
Kind of a tough
Jordan
person.
Walsh would have been one of my picks, but I don't want to watch about anime.
I don't care for anime. Yeah,
I feel like Ugo would.
That was my next pick.
Yeah, he's a teenager from Spain and is just hasn't experienced a whole lot of life, but he's just. I'm sure that one was interesting.
Yeah, and just his perspective is totally different. Gen Z from Spain was a professional at like what 14 years old. So like I think he would have some interesting things to say. You know, he didn't earlier in the season. He didn't.
You also know that Derek White did his on Division II basketball.
Oh,
that was another one. That was.
I don't care. I don't really want to watch that one either. That was going to be my next pick. Final pick for me. And it's going to be again outside of the box. And apparently I just want to learn about people from different countries. Amari Williams. I know nothing about that guy except for the fact that he's British and he's really good at passing. Because Sam Hauser has a podcast. It's not the most interesting. Derek White is one of the least interesting quotes in the league. Very nice guy. I'm running out of guys, and I feel like Amari Williams. Does Amari Williams even have a British accent? I've never heard him speak.
Yeah, slight one. Yeah,
that'd be fun. He could teach us about crisps and his favorite Premier League team. I think it'd be worth it. But I don't know. Joe Mazzulla just dominates the personality of this entire team. It does no one else is allowed to. What happened to the days of Terry Rozier and Marcus Morris? Where Brad was so bland that all the players' personalities took over. Joe doesn't allow that to happen. I don't think by choice, but it's just kind of the nature of the beast.
Just how it is.
Well,
just how it is. I got one more question for you.
Yes, let's hear it.
What are your thoughts on Jack Black?
I know you hate Jack Black. You've had this take
talked
before.
About that.
Yeah, you have. You're pretty anti-Jack Black. I think School of Rock is fantastic. Tenacious D had some fun songs back in the day. He definitely High Fidelity. He was a fun person, but I can't name you a Jack Black movie in the last 10 years that I've been super excited about. But I know you are anti-Jack Black. Why is this coming up now for you?
Because Fred started talking about Jack Black on the podcast, I believe. And I just went on a Jack Black rant, and I was hoping to get some support of another person who saw that Jack Black is totally talentless.
Oh, that's not true at all.
And
have you seen School of Rock?
No, I would never watch a Jack Black movie.
I feel like I have a lot of Jack Black energy, and so I'm not too surprised that you loathe his acting career.
That's not true. I would never podcast with you if you had Jack Black energy.
Well, I guess I appreciate that.
He makes me want to puke in The Holiday.
I've never seen The Holiday, but I'm assuming he's just doing Jack Black stuff.
Yeah, which makes me want to puke. He makes me truly sick, sicker than The Wave does.
Wow, worse than The Wave. In terms of biggest pet peeves, I didn't realize there could be something worse than The Wave.
Jack Black and Jack Black supporters.
All right, don't alienate our audience there. If you want to hear more from us, you want to hear more negative opinions about things J. King hates, you should subscribe to the pod. We'll be here for you every single day, Monday through Friday. Go to our Patreon, patreon.com/stillpotable. 2 games this weekend, the back-to-back against the lowly Bulls and the lonely Nets. Definitely an opportunity in January for the Celtics to pick up wins. We'll definitely be talking more about potential trades at the deadline. People going off against Ivica Zubac in the chat. People have a lot of strong opinions. We'll break down every rumor that is out there, talk about Jayson Tatum's return, all of that every single day, Monday through Friday. Still Potable. Patreon.com/stillpotable. Of course, you can get our games again, or our podcasts again here on the free feed. Subscribe, like us 5 stars, give us a review. It's very helpful. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll be back next week with more Still Potable.
Still Potable, Still Potable. Boston, Still Potable, Still Potable.
Slow down from eating and drinking and all that wild stuff.